My daughter told me to leave because her husband didn't want to feed more people. 3 months later, I bought the building they lived in and made the rent 3 times higher. Before I share my full story, let me know where you're watching from and make sure to like the video to support me. My name is Abigail. I am 68 years old. I used to think I knew what family meant. I believed in sticking together through thick and thin. I raised my son, Thomas, with love and care. When he was young, I worked hard to give him everything he needed. I was there for him when he struggled in school and when he had his first heartbreak. I thought our bond would always be strong. A few years ago, my husband passed away. It was a hard time, but I managed. I had a big house full of memories. I thought about downsizing, but Thomas and his wife, Emily, insisted I move in with them. They said it would be nice to have me around. I believed them. I packed my things, sold my house, and moved into their place. At first, everything seemed fine. I tried to be helpful. I cooked meals, cleaned up, and watched their kids. I thought I was making their lives easier. But soon after I settled in, Emily asked to talk. She looked serious. I did not expect what she was about to say. Emily said they could not afford to keep me there. She said having an extra person in the house was too expensive. She told me I needed to find somewhere else to live. Her words felt like a punch to my stomach. I was shocked and hurt. I could not believe what I was hearing. I sat in my room that night, thinking about everything. I thought about all the times I had put Thomas first. I remembered the sacrifices I made for him. I had always been there for my family. I wondered how things had come to this. I felt like I had given so much, only to be pushed away. The next day, I began looking for a place to stay. I found a small apartment nearby. It was not much, but it was affordable. I packed my belongings and moved out quietly. I did not want to make a scene. I left a note for Thomas, telling him I was leaving. I hoped he would read it and understand. Living alone again was strange at first. The apartment was quiet, and I had a lot of time to think. I felt betrayed by Thomas and Emily. I wondered if I had done something wrong. I spent my days in silence, trying to make sense of my new reality. During this time, I found an old paint set in a box. I had loved painting when I was younger. I decided to give it another try. I started with simple landscapes, just to keep my mind busy. As the days passed, painting became my refuge. It calmed me and gave me a sense of purpose. It was my escape from the hurt I felt. I also discovered a community center nearby. They had a group for senior artists. I decided to join them. It was nice to be around people who shared my interest. We met once a week to paint and talk. They welcomed me warmly. Their kindness helped me start to heal. As I painted, I thought about my life. I thought about how everything had changed. I realized that I needed to find a new path. I could not dwell on the past. I had to move forward. Painting gave me something to look forward to. It made me feel alive again. Even though I was still hurt, I started to see that this change might be good for me. I was finding a new part of myself. I was learning to stand on my own. I was becoming someone who could find joy in simple things. Life was not what I had expected, but I was adapting. I was learning to live for myself. I was creating a new life, one brushstroke at a time. And in those quiet moments alone with my art, I started to feel a small spark of hope. In my small apartment, I found solace. The walls were bare, but they felt like a blank canvas. I was free to create, to paint, to be me. The solitude was different, yet comforting. No longer did I have to worry about fitting into Thomas and Emily's life. I focused on myself for the first time in years. Every morning, I set up my easel by the window. Light streamed in, and I lost myself in colors and shapes. Each brushstroke was a step away from the pain I felt. Painting became my therapy. It was a place where I could express my emotions without words. I poured my heart onto the canvas, and it helped to heal the wounds. Joining the senior artists at the community center was a turning point. The group was full of warmth and encouragement. We sat together, sharing stories and laughter. They listened without judgment and offered advice when needed. It was a support system I didn't know I needed. One day, a woman named Clara joined us. She was new to the group, like me. Clara was lively and always had a smile. She noticed my work and complimented it. Her words lifted my spirits. We chatted often, and a friendship began to form. Clara told me how she had also faced challenges in her life. She had lost her husband years ago and had to find her own way. Listening to her story gave me strength. I realized I was not alone in my struggles. Others had faced similar hardships and had come out stronger. Each week, as I painted with the group, I gained confidence. I tried new styles and techniques. I learned to experiment and not fear mistakes. The creative process was freeing. It allowed me to express what I couldn't say out loud. The center organized a small art exhibit. They encouraged everyone to display their work. At first, I hesitated. I wasn't sure if I was ready to show my art. But the group convinced me. They said it was a chance to share my journey. With their support, I decided to participate. Preparing for the exhibit was exciting. I chose a few pieces that meant a lot to me. Each painting told a part of my story. I wanted people to see not just the art but the emotions behind it. It was nerve-wracking, but I felt ready to share this part of myself. On the day of the exhibit, the community center was bustling. People admired the artwork and chatted with the artists. I stood by my paintings, feeling a mix of pride and nervousness. It was a big step for me, putting my work out there for others to see. Clara stood by my side, offering support. Her presence was comforting. As people viewed my paintings, I watched their reactions. Some smiled, others seemed thoughtful. It was rewarding to see my work touch others. It made me realize the power of art. Throughout the evening, many people approached me. They asked about the inspiration behind my paintings. I spoke openly about my journey, my struggles, and my newfound passion. It felt good to share my story. It was like releasing a weight I had been carrying. The exhibit was a success. It brought our group closer together. We celebrated afterward, sharing stories and laughter. It was a moment of pure joy. I felt grateful for this new chapter in my life. I was no longer defined by my past hurt. I was moving forward, one painting at a time. As I headed home that night, I felt a sense of peace. I knew I was on the right path. I had found my place in this small community of artists. I was growing and healing. I was discovering who I was beyond the roles of mother and wife. I was Abigail, an artist, a friend, and a woman rebuilding her life. Life felt brighter after the art exhibit. I had found a rhythm in my daily routine, and painting brought me joy. One afternoon, the community center held a gathering. It was a chance for everyone to connect and share stories. I decided to attend. The room buzzed with conversation and laughter. I wandered around, enjoying the lively atmosphere. It was heartwarming to see so many people come together. While sipping a cup of tea, I noticed a man standing nearby. He seemed familiar, but I could not place him. Eventually, he approached me with a friendly smile. He introduced himself as Mr. Lawrence. He had seen my paintings at the exhibit and wanted to compliment my work. We began talking, and I found him easy to converse with. He was kind and attentive, asking about my journey into art. I shared my story, speaking about the changes in my life. He listened intently, nodding with understanding. Mr. Lawrence revealed that he was a real estate investor. He had a keen eye for potential, not just in property but in people too. He mentioned he had a small apartment building for sale. As he spoke about it, an idea formed in my mind. I had money saved from selling my house. I also had a small inheritance from my parents. The thought of investing in something tangible intrigued me. It was a chance to regain control over my life. But I hesitated, unsure if I was ready for such a commitment. Mr. Lawrence saw my uncertainty. He spoke about the benefits of owning property. He said it could be a source of income and stability. His words stayed with me long after our conversation ended. That night, I thought about the opportunity. I weighed the pros and cons. My heart told me to take a chance, but my mind was cautious. I had never done anything like this before. It felt daunting, yet exciting. I spent the next few days researching. I learned about property management and the responsibilities it involved. The more I read, the more confident I felt. I realized this could be a new beginning, a way to secure my future. After much thought, I decided to go for it. I contacted Mr. Lawrence and expressed my interest. He was pleased and offered to guide me through the process. His support gave me the courage to move forward. We met several times to discuss the details. Mr. Lawrence explained everything clearly. He was patient and answered all my questions. I felt grateful for his guidance. It made the experience less intimidating. Finally, the day arrived to finalize the purchase. I signed the papers, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. I was now the owner of a small apartment building. It was a significant step, one that marked a new phase in my life. As I left the office, a sense of accomplishment washed over me. I had taken control of my life in a way I never imagined. I was no longer just a retiree finding her way. I was an investor, a business owner. Owning the building gave me purpose. I was responsible for its upkeep and the well-being of my tenants. It was a challenge, but one I was ready to embrace. I wanted to create a positive environment for those who lived there. This journey opened my eyes to new possibilities. I learned that life could change at any moment. I had faced unexpected challenges, but I had also found unexpected opportunities. It taught me to be open to change and to trust in my abilities. I knew I would continue to paint. It was a passion I would never let go of. But now, I had another role, another part of my identity. I was building a future for myself, one step at a time. I felt hopeful about what lay ahead. I had learned to trust myself again. I realized that life was about more than just surviving. It was about thriving, about finding new paths and embracing them. And I was ready for whatever came next. After buying the apartment building, I felt a new sense of responsibility. I wanted to be a good landlord, someone who cared about her tenants. I visited the building often, checking on things and making sure everyone was happy. It was a rewarding feeling, knowing I was making a difference. One day, as I was reviewing the tenant list, I noticed something surprising. Among the names were Thomas and Emily. I was shocked. I had no idea they had moved into my building. They had not mentioned it to me, and I wondered why. At first, I was unsure of what to do. Part of me wanted to confront them right away. But another part of me wanted to understand their situation first. I decided to keep my ownership a secret for now. I wanted to observe and learn more before taking any action. Over the next few weeks, I kept a close eye on things. I learned that Thomas and Emily were having a hard time. Their finances were tight, and they were struggling to make ends meet. It seemed they were trying to keep up appearances, but I could see the strain they were under. I remembered how difficult times could be. I recalled my own struggles after my husband passed away. I felt a pang of empathy for them. Despite everything, they were still my family. I could not ignore that. I thought about the choices I had. I could reveal myself and offer help, or I could remain silent and let them sort things out on their own. It was a difficult decision. I did not want to intrude, but I also did not want to turn my back on them. As days passed, I noticed small things about Thomas and Emily. They worked hard to keep their heads above water. I saw them juggling work, family, and bills. It reminded me of my younger years, trying to balance everything. I understood their struggles more than they knew. One evening, I sat in my apartment, thinking about what to do. I realized that I had a chance to help them, but I had to be careful. I did not want to make them feel ashamed or embarrassed. I wanted to approach the situation with compassion and understanding. I also needed to consider my own feelings. I had been hurt by their actions, but I had to let go of the past. Holding on to a resentment would not help anyone. I needed to focus on the present and what I could do to support them now. The decision weighed heavily on my mind. I wanted to do the right thing, for them and for myself. I knew that whatever I chose, it would change our relationship. It was a risk, but one I was willing to take. I decided to give myself a little more time to think. I wanted to be sure of my choice. In the meantime, I continued to manage the building and take care of my tenants. I made improvements where I could, hoping to create a welcoming environment for everyone. During this time, I also leaned on my friends from the art group. They gave me advice and listened to my concerns. Their support was invaluable, and it reminded me that I was not alone. I had people who cared about me and were willing to help. As I mulled over my decision, I felt a sense of peace. I knew that whatever I chose, it would come from a place of love. I wanted to support Thomas and Emily, but I also wanted to respect their independence. It was a delicate balance, but I was determined to find it. The situation taught me a lot about family and forgiveness. It showed me the importance of understanding and empathy. I realized that life is not always black and white. Sometimes, you have to navigate the gray areas with care and compassion. I knew I would have to make a decision soon. But for now, I was content to watch and wait. I hoped that when the time came, I would find the right words and the right way to help. Until then, I would continue to be the best landlord I could be, for them and for all my tenants. After much thought, I knew it was time to talk to Thomas and Emily. The secret I held felt heavy. I needed to confront them and clear the air. I wanted to be honest about my ownership of the building. It was important to me that they knew the truth. One afternoon, I walked over to their apartment. My heart was pounding, but I was determined. I knocked on the door, and Emily answered. Surprise flashed across her face when she saw me. I asked if we could talk, and she invited me in. Thomas joined us in the living room. The atmosphere was tense. I could see the worry in their eyes. I took a deep breath and began. I told them about buying the building. Their faces turned from surprise to disbelief. Thomas looked upset, and Emily seemed unsure. Thomas accused me of wanting revenge. He thought I bought the building to get back at them for what happened. His words stung, but I stayed calm. I explained that it was not about revenge. It was an opportunity one took for myself. I wanted them to understand my perspective. As we talked, the tension slowly eased. I shared my journey, how painting helped me heal, and how buying the property was a step toward independence. I wanted them to see that my decision was not meant to hurt them. It was about reclaiming my life. During our conversation, a new truth emerged. Emily admitted she had been pushing Thomas to ask me for help. She was worried about their finances and thought I might be able to assist. But Thomas was too proud to reach out. His pride kept him from admitting their struggles. This revelation shifted the mood. I saw the strain on Thomas's face. He was carrying a heavy burden, trying to protect his family. Emily looked at him with concern, and I felt a wave of empathy. I realized they were not trying to hurt me, they were struggling in their own way. Understanding their situation softened my heart. I told them I did not want to make things harder for them. I wanted to help, but I needed their honesty. We talked openly, sharing our feelings and fears. It was a difficult conversation, but it brought us closer. By the end of our talk, we had reached a new understanding. They knew I was there for them, not against them. I assured them my door was always open. I wanted them to feel they could come to me without fear or shame. As I left their apartment, I felt a sense of relief. The weight of the secret was gone. I had faced my fears and spoken my truth. It was a step toward healing our relationship. I hoped it would lead to better days for all of us. Back in my apartment, I reflected on what had happened. I realized how important communication is. Misunderstandings can build walls between people. But honest conversations can tear those walls down. It was a lesson I would carry with me. I also learned about pride and vulnerability. Thomas's pride had kept him silent, but vulnerability opened the door to understanding. It reminded me that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a step toward growth. As the days passed, I felt a shift in my relationship with Thomas and Emily. We were not perfect, but we were trying. We were learning to trust each other again. It was a start, and I was hopeful. This experience taught me about forgiveness and empathy. It showed me that everyone has their struggles. We all face challenges, but we can support each other through them. It reinforced my belief in the power of family and the strength that comes from understanding. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I was ready. I felt more connected to my family than I had in a long time. We were rebuilding, step by step, and I was grateful for the chance to start anew. After our conversation, I spent a lot of time thinking about how to help Thomas and Emily. I knew they needed support, but I also wanted to set boundaries. It was important for them to learn and grow on their own. I needed to find a balance between helping and enabling. Their rent was due to increase soon, and I had a decision to make. I could follow through with the increase, or I could offer them some relief. I thought about it long and hard. I wanted to be compassionate, but I also wanted to be fair to myself and my responsibilities as a landlord. I decided to meet with them again. This time, the atmosphere was more relaxed. They welcomed me with smiles, and I felt a sense of warmth. We sat down at their small kitchen table, ready to discuss the situation. I explained that I planned to keep the rent increase as scheduled. However, I offered to cover the difference for a limited period. This way, they could have some breathing room to get back on their feet. I wanted them to know I was willing to help, but I also wanted them to take responsibility for their future. Thomas and Emily were surprised by my offer. I could see the relief on their faces. They thanked me, expressing their gratitude. It was clear they were sincere, and I felt good about my decision. It was a chance for them to prove their sincerity, to show that they could manage their finances with a little help. We talked about setting goals and making a plan. I encouraged them to look at their expenses and find areas where they could cut back. Emily mentioned she was looking for a part-time job to bring in extra income. Thomas said he was working on getting a promotion at work. They were taking steps to improve their situation, and I was proud of them. This conversation felt different from the last. There was a sense of mutual respect and understanding. I realized that offering help did not mean losing my independence. It was about building a stronger relationship based on trust and communication. As I left their apartment, I felt hopeful. I believed they would make the most of this opportunity. I wanted them to succeed, not just for themselves, but for our family. I knew that the future would be brighter if we worked together. Back at home, I reflected on my role as a mother and a landlord. I learned that setting boundaries was important, both for me and for them. It was a way to ensure that our relationship was healthy and balanced. I also realized that compassion and tough love could coexist. It was possible to be supportive while encouraging growth and independence. This balance was key to helping them thrive. The days turned into weeks, and I watched as Thomas and Emily made progress. They were more open with me, sharing their successes and challenges. It was a joy to see them grow and take charge of their lives. This experience taught me valuable lessons. I learned that helping others does not mean losing myself. I could offer support without sacrificing my own needs. It was about finding a middle ground, where everyone could benefit. I continued to paint and manage the building. Both brought me fulfillment and purpose. I was carving out a life that was meaningful and rewarding. I was learning to balance my independence with my desire to be part of my family's life. This journey was not just about Thomas and Emily. It was about me too. I was growing and changing, finding new strengths and capabilities. I was becoming the person I wanted to be. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I felt ready to face them. I had learned to trust myself and my instincts. I had found a way to support my family while staying true to myself. And that was a victory I could celebrate. Over time, the changes in Thomas and Emily became clear. They worked hard to improve their situation. Emily found a part-time job, and Thomas secured a promotion. They managed their expenses better, and I could see their confidence growing. It was rewarding to watch them stand on their own feet. Our relationship improved too. We communicated more openly and shared our lives. We began to have regular family dinners, something we had not done in a long time. These gatherings were simple but special. We laughed, shared stories, and enjoyed each other's company. The progress we made encouraged me to reflect on my own life. I had found stability and purpose through painting and managing the building. But I still yearned for something more, a way to connect with others and share my passion. One day, while chatting with Clara at the community center, an idea sparked. We talked about hosting a community art exhibit. It would be a chance for our art group to showcase our work. I felt excited about the idea. It was an opportunity to bring people together and celebrate creativity. I shared the idea with the group, and they were enthusiastic. We began planning the event, discussing themes and logistics. Everyone pitched in, eager to make it a success. It felt good to be part of something bigger, something that could bring joy to others. As the event approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I wanted it to be perfect. I chose a few of my favorite pieces to display. Each painting held a piece of my journey, a reflection of the changes in my life. On the day of the exhibit, the community center buzzed with energy. People from all walks of life came to see the art. The room was filled with laughter and conversation. It was wonderful to see so many people appreciating our work. Thomas and Emily attended too. They admired the paintings and mingled with the guests. I felt proud to have them there, supporting me. It was a reminder of how far we had come as a family. The exhibit was a success. It brought the community together and showcased the talent within our group. I received compliments on my paintings, and it warmed my heart. It was gratifying to see my art touch others. That evening, as I reflected on the event, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. I realized I had come a long way since the days of feeling lost and hurt. I had built a life filled with meaning and connection. I had found my place in the world. This journey taught me the importance of letting go of the past. Holding on to pain only keeps you stuck. By embracing change and opening my heart, I found healing and new beginnings. I also learned the value of family and forgiveness. Our relationships are not perfect, but they are worth nurturing. By forgiving and understanding, we strengthen the bonds that hold us together. As I looked around the room at the smiling faces, I felt hopeful. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but I was ready. I had discovered my inner strength and resilience. I had built a life that was true to who I am. The exhibit was not just about art. It was about growth, community, and the power of starting anew. It was a celebration of all that we had overcome and achieved. I knew this was just the beginning. There were more dreams to pursue and more paths to explore. I was excited to see where life would take me next. With my family by my side and a renewed sense of purpose, I felt ready for anything. In the end, I realized that life is about finding balance. It is about giving and receiving, supporting and being supported. It is about creating a future that honors our past but does not dwell in it. And most importantly, it is about living each moment with joy and gratitude.